We're moving! They were the machines that made Britain great. Fast, revolutionary, and sometimes downright dangerous. These are the stories of our engineering masterpieces that shook the world and drive the way we live today. Of all the great British machines, one type of machine more than any other transformed life in both Britain and across the world.
In 1800, Britain was booming thanks to the Industrial Revolution. Towns and cities were expanding, factories were springing up, and the population was growing fast.
But travel had remained unchanged for thousands of years, by foot, by boat, or by horse and carriage.
Then, in the space of just 30 years, a series of brilliant British pioneers started a transport revolution. They created extraordinary new machines, built roads made of iron, and changed the world forever.
This is the era in which the train was born.
Iron Bridge Gorge, Shropshire. At the dawn of the 19th century.
This amazing contraption was the world's first railway locomotive. In 1802, here in Coalbrookdale, powered by spluttering steam and coal, it hauled itself along iron rails and transformed the world.
But the story of the railways begins much earlier, and it begins underground. Down here in dark, wet mines.
Mining in Britain was big business. Whether it was producing lead from this mine in the North Pennines, tin from Cornwall, or coal from countless mines across the country. And back in about 1600, British miners reinvented an idea that had been around since Roman times.
They realized that the easiest way to get precious coal or minerals out of mines was to put a cart on rails.
Originally made of wood, these rail systems were called tramways, and these ones date back to the early part of the 19th century. Let's give it a try, shall we?
Well, a drop of oil might help, but it's much easier than carrying by hand. By 1800, most mines had a whole network of tramways. But of course, there was another key ingredient for a railway: the locomotive.
Well, that story also begins down here with the solution to a very different problem.
Water.
Flooding was a big problem for miners. As miners dug deeper, they inevitably hit water as the water table was reached. In the tin mines of Cornwall, the seams stretched out below the seabed. If these deposits were to be mined, the water would have to be pumped.
For years, this was done with water wheels, but they needed a river to power them. In the early 18th century, a newfangled machine started taking their place: the steam-driven engine. The earliest, Thomas Newcomen's atmospheric engines, used steam cooled in a cylinder to drive pumping gear. The first was built in 1712, and by 1800, 2,000 were in use across Europe. They allowed miners to dig deeper than ever before, but there was room for improvement. I've come to Kew Bridge Steam Museum in London to fire up an example of one of the most important British machines of all time. This type of engine powered Britain for over 100 years and provided the starting point for the development of railway locomotives.
And here it is, the James Watt steam engine.
James Watt, an instrument maker from Glasgow, developed his first steam engine in 1763 after repairing a Newcomen pump. This engine was built in 1820